Right, I cut off the console, or the start piece that was originally here, and I've gone for a complete console from the fuel tank bulkhead. That's just a good point, isn't it? That needs to be extended a bit more. Right here. Put some more play on. Okay, I've gone from the fuel tank bulkhead here all the way to underneath the dashboard as a single center console. Stepped it back from here. Cleaned this face up and just put a radius on here for the moment, just to give me some idea of what it's going to look like. So this has got to have a decent radius on it yet. And clean the corners up and do it just dead square. There's plenty of room on there now to do whatever you need. You've got a good 210 millimeters across and a good 120 millimeters, or a safe 115 for putting something in there. So that should be fine for a 7-inch screen. 7-inch screens really around about the 180 to 110 to 190-ish, kind of what I've seen on eBay. So plenty of room for a screen there, or whatever else you want. You know, put two. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Now, blending this in further back gave me a couple of advantages. Basically, I can tilt this surface, or tilt it that way. For that, it gives it a bit more of a feature into it. Obviously, the gear stick system here. I've adopted the curve here, which is basically the curve of the frame of this, which is actually here. The frame normally goes inside the leather. Normally this is quite a bit longer. This piece here has been actually chopped off. The first couple of attempts, the angle wasn't going to be enough. There wasn't enough of this length. Now I've finished it, there is actually enough room for it, so, which is a shame, but I may have to buy another gator clip, or I might even just shorten it and get the wife to unstitch the leather here, and then basically just restitch it with a shorter edge up. And I've got a bit more room at the top there against something else. A little more room to put something if you need it. There you go. So with the gear stick fully forward in this position, or with this, put it back to the correct length where the stick's going to be, otherwise it's obviously offset. With this fully forward, and your hands on it, I've roughly got about 45 to 50 millimeters between my knuckles and the front here. So you've got plenty of room to do what you need. What I'm going to do, obviously, which is, well, what I intend to do at the moment, plans may change at any point, is to fit a single DIN, and the stereo of choice for me at the moment is the Oxygen Audio single DIN unit. Now I can fit it offset to the side, or I can fit it in the middle, or whatever else. Now this angle here with the single DIN now pointing from this top down, so basically at an angle like that, it's hard to tell with my hand in the way. With an angle down like that, it actually misses the heating unit, amazingly. Now the Oxygen Audio for what I want to use for the iPhone, basically the iPhone slots in it vertically, or normally horizontally. Now if it's in vertical like that, the iPhone will just be in its normal mode, and you'll have a volume control knob at the top. Now I like the idea of having a volume control knob. That would be done whatever system fitted. But the good thing about it is the Oxygen Audio, you can actually click the thing and it'll come out, and you can spin the phone so it's actually horizontal. When it's in horizontal mode, obviously it'll be in landscape. Now when the sat nav is being used, if you knock it out and turn the phone horizontal, the screen itself will display the sat nav in landscape. If you turn it that way, obviously the screen is going to look odd because it's going to be the other way around. but I can knock it out. You can't do that with the IROC, which is normally not a problem, but obviously me fitting it vertically is kind of an issue. But that's what I'm going to do anyway. So at this point now, heater controls can easily be put here somewhere. Obviously handbrake aperture here. Heater controls can be put here. I could even put a start button here. I really do like the McLaren F1 style of start button, which is a sunken button under basically an aluminum hinged lid. You stick your finger in like you would your door catch, stick your finger in, you lift the lid, press the button, and as you pull your finger out the lid shuts on top of the button, stops it being pushed while the car's running. Now with the seat in, there's still plenty of room to me to operate this lot without really getting my elbow in the way of anything. The handbrake itself, pulling it up, I must admit, you have to move your shoulder over slightly to get full clearance when you're pulling it up. Handbrake. With the handbrake in position to pull it all the way up, your elbow does end up sort of coming back here somewhere, which means it has to be pushed over the seat a little bit. But this isn't the car for handbrake turns, so I'm not really worried too much about that. If I'm parking, then I'm pretty much going to undo my seatbelt anyway. And if you need to do a handbrake turn, there's a pedal down there called your right foot, and trust me, it's way more effective than a handbrake. So heater control unit, start button, stereo either put into center and or put to the side, and then whatever switch or buttons that I want down there to control. I could have traction control, launch control settings, whatever the hell I want to put down there, individual buttons, for as long as they're shallow, any sort of 5 or 6 millimeter away from the face. Then when I bring the stereo out for the sat nav, but then again, why the hell am I going to have sat nav if I'm going to launch the traction control? Not really needed. So that's my ideas so far. Obviously it morphs every time I do something, but it's a complete center console now, so it'll mate to this bulkhead. It actually mates. You can see underneath here there's if I can take the strap off, if you look underneath here, I've taped here. I took the dash off and did a decent surface there when I created the top and the curve, and then taped it so I can clay up to the tape. Obviously for the mould itself, I'll take this top surface that's on the centre console and I'll bring it down probably about 2.5-3 millimeters, something like that, because by the time you spray this, that probably adds a millimeter to it. Spray that, same thing again, so it'll close up the gap by 2 mil. I may even have to bring it down about 3 millimeters, to be honest, but either way around. That'll do that, and obviously there's plenty of room at the bottom here, because at the moment I just sit on the tube and I'll extend it down here before that's done. But at the moment I've got a nice sympathetic radius or surface to this. That surface is not perfectly level, technically it's like this, so as you push it in it gets it gets closer to it. I can't have too much length here, because as you put in the centre console in, you can imagine you put the centre console into the car, you're not going to be able to just push it in kind of left or right. You're going to have to put it in basically like that and slot it down. So I need to be able to make sure that I can actually get the centre console in and out of the car with the dashboard on. Just make it easier for doing stuff. And it's got to go over the gear stick, obviously. That can be temporarily disconnected. But I need to make sure that I can disassemble the damn thing from the inside without too much hassle. So that's where at the moment. Obviously it's just presently plain flat surfaces, but you have to run a flat. Well, you don't have to. But it makes it a lot easier to run a flat surface first and then do a curved off that. Obviously there's a marked centre line all the way down the middle of it at the moment. I just measure from either side of the chassis. I scribe lined it to do the side surfaces, which at the moment are rough as hell. Pretty much you just I need to be about 140 millimeters wide, which is about 51 millimeters from that chassis rail there. You can see this 51 is pretty close to it now, so I've just about got enough clay on this side anyway. So I'll bolt on a piece of angle or something, a piece of wood, whatever I want to do, at exactly where I want this surface to end. So I'll do it parallel at either side of where the actual kind of rail is that's underneath here. I'll bolt it onto the wood. This is bolted at the front. I'll actually bolt it at the rear as well. At the moment it's just pushed up against this piece of wood. I'll bolt it in properly, and then to make the flat surface here, it's nice and simple. I just get something that's flat, push it up to that surface, click, and just skim along. So then I can actually correct the surface. I was trying to do it freehand out there, only just with a centre line measurement. It's not so easy. But if I put it in place, get a point there, something to push up to, and then scrape across, I'll get the sides pretty flat and square. Now, I'm guessing here I'm just going to put a nice soft radius here, a little bit sharper around here, but a big soft radius either side, just to get into. Make sure there's enough room for my hand to get into here. What else do I think? Oh yeah, when this is all, I'm happy completely with the angle and everything else of this surface. Now what I'm probably going to do is extend just a kind of a bead side, either about 1/2 inch per side, and come out, just come up. So I basically end up with a I don't know how you pronounce it, but basically you end up with a beam down both sides to give it kind of a feel that's constructed and nothing else. I've seen it in one car. I just can't think for the hell of me what car it was. Excuse me. But it won't be completely flat. There'll actually be technically a wall either side that are raised up kind of 1/2 inch square, that will come off it. So the wall will come up to here, round and back down. So it looks sunken in more than anything else. So we've got this big step at the moment, which is ruler. Yeah. Got no nails. We've got a step at the moment. It's about 27 millimeters. And now we'll come up from this surface, say about 15 millimeters, so that will run into here. Now whether we run into it dead square and keep it flat, or whether I run that surface there and then run it out to kind of meet this edge here, to give this edge there something to blend into here. Your knee at the point at the top here isn't really an issue. I don't want to widen this too much here, and in fact about here somewhere, when I've flattened all this off, I'm actually going to go in here, roughly sort of scallop that out probably about 1 inch, just to give me a little bit more knee room and make it more of a feature. I can scallop it out from here down, so it'll look reasonably dimensional there, and then it'll just scallop out and do the same on both sides. So that's where we are at the moment. That's, like I said, things could change, but that's where I feel I'm reasonably happy with it at present. It's a lot of work doing this stuff freehand, and starting from basically a metal frame. It's so much easier having a 5-axis CNC mill to mill out the already pre-designed CAD shape. But since I haven't really got anything pre-designed, I'm just winging it at this point, without any design or sketches. It's kind of hard to visualize what you're trying to do before you do it. So, but it's coming along. All these surfaces obviously just waiting for me really now just to finish it up. I've got all my outside shapes, so really I'm just going to spend probably 3 or 4 days just finishing all the inside and then beautifying all these curves, getting them ready for paint. But at the moment I still don't know how, this surface there is how it's going to blend into here, so I need to finalise how the column's going to look with it before I start making up that. So there we are so far. What can I say? That's about it for the moment. Progress for the weekend.